Hello, Oilers fans. Austin here with a bit of a news update. The Trent Frederick contract situation is now official. It is also draft day, which means teams are making a ton of moves right now, getting ahead of free agency, trying to move up or down in the draft. Right now, the Oilers do not have a first-round draft pick, but there's a lot of cogs kind of moving in the machine around the NHL, so I did want to just kind of talk about that a little bit. But more importantly, we do want to talk about Trent Frederick's contract with Edmonton. It is official. It is a 8-year contract worth $3.85 million per season. And that's a lot of term. That's a lot of cap for a middle six forward with some top six potential here and there. He can step up. He can play numerous roles. He can play penalty kill. He can play center, left wing, right wing. I think the fact that there's versatility with this player is why he got the term that he wanted and why he got the cap hit that he wanted as well. Now, if we take a look at the cap hit in general, just the bigger picture here, the salary cap is about to explode in the NHL over the next 3-4 years. So $3.85 million today is more like $2.5 million in a couple seasons from now, which obviously isn't that bad at all. But it's the no move clause for the first 4 years of the deal before it turns into a modified no move clause that I think a lot of fans will be a little bit irked about. But Trent Frederick is a player that I watched a lot on the Boston Bruins. This is a player that did not play to his standard in the playoffs this year for Edmonton because of a high ankle sprain. He was injured in Boston this season, and then he came to Edmonton at the trade deadline or just before the trade deadline, played, I think, one game, immediately re-aggravated that ankle, and then did not play until the playoffs, and he only had one goal in the postseason, and I think a lot of fans, they're only looking at what he did in the playoffs as a disappointment for the contract that he got. But I am going to try and flip the script a little bit and talk about the positives of Trent Frederick. I am looking at points per 60 over the past 3 seasons for Trent Frederick to look at his comparables here. Now, Trent Frederick in the entire NHL among forwards ranks 175th in points per 60. That doesn't seem great, but you have to remember how many forwards have played at least 500 minutes over the past 3 years, 2022 to 2025. Now, Trent Frederick's points per 60 in that time at 5-on-5, 1.77. That is the exact same as Sam Bennett. That is the same as Philip Deneau. That is slightly above Brandon Saad, slightly above Timo Meier, Jakob Vrana, and then, of course, you have Evander Kane, former Oiler, of course, was traded to the Vancouver Canucks. Evander Kane was at 1.75 points per 60. Essentially, Trent Frederick is replacing Evander Kane's role on the team, that tough, physical presence, can get in on the forecheck, can bang bodies, can fight, and try and deter people from, going after Edmonton's more skilled players. But look at the other comparable here. Brad Marchand, of course, had a phenomenal postseason. And listen, these comparables does not mean that Trent Frederick is as good or better than the players that you see on the screen. I'm just showing you that points per 60 at 5-on-5 over the past 3 years, Trent Frederick also ranks ahead of Brad Marchand, who has 1.75 points per 60. So there are comparables here where Trent Frederick may have been able to get even a little bit more money on the open market, but I think the term is what kept that cap hit down. Dylan Guenther, of course, with Utah, 1.74 points per 60. Now, obviously, points per 60 is not the be-all, end-all here, right? Like, you can't just look at points per 60 and be like, hey, this justifies this number or this justifies that number. I totally understand that there are going to be question marks with Trent Frederick, but overall, I think there's enough value, there's enough information available on Trent Frederick that shows that he is a valuable piece of this team. And as long as he's healthy, I think they are obviously banking on the fact that he is going to be healthy heading into next season and that he can stay healthy. High ankle sprains are no joke. We have seen Oilers play with high ankle sprains. Leon Draisaitl infamously in the playoffs in 22-23. Of course, he still put up 17 points in 5 games against the Calgary Flames with the high ankle sprain. Sorry, Flames fans. I don't think you want to be reminded about that. Obviously, Draisaitl is just on another level, though, right? Leon, they're built a little bit differently in Germany, I think, than they are in the United States and Canada when it comes to that toughness factor. I'm not saying the Canadians and Americans aren't tough, but Leon Draisaitl, he's on another planet, I think. That guy is, he's just on another level. But overall, I like the deal for Edmonton. Now, in other Oilers news, it does sound like the Oilers are not going to be trying to upgrade the goaltending as of yet. Ryan Rishaug and Mark Spector have both put out statements basically being like, hey, if there's an upgrade, maybe they'll kind of go after it. But right now, we don't have to. Good old Mark Spector. Remember the last time an Oilers GM acquired a goalie just for the sake of acquiring a goalie? Jack Campbell. Listen, a lot of the smart hockey people here, Mark, understood that contract made no sense for Jack Campbell. There was a lot of question marks in the second half of the season for Jack Campbell. And listen, we don't want to hit on the Jack Campbell, beating that dead horse again, but this is not the same situation. If there are goalies available, a good GM will find a way to acquire them. Look at the goalies that moved in season last year. Of course, you had the Colorado Avalanche acquire 2 goaltenders. Now, it didn't quite work out for them in the playoffs, but I would argue that it wasn't entirely a goaltending issue with the Colorado Avalanche. For Edmonton, it is a goaltending issue, and it has been and will continue to be a goaltending issue that this team does not win a Stanley Cup in the McDavid era until they address it. They have to. Stan Bowman cannot try and sit down with Connor McDavid's agent and the rest of the team and be like, hey, we're committed to winning a Stanley Cup. We are committed to doing whatever we can to get you a championship, Connor, but also we're going to stick with Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard moving forward. That is unacceptable. And if I was in Connor McDavid's camp, I would be like, okay, well then I'm not signing an extension until you address this head on. Now, of course, we do know that Edmonton mainstream media is usually kept out of the loop of big things that go on behind the scenes. Nobody in Edmonton mainstream media ever breaks any news when it comes to this team other than Bob Stauffer. He seems to be the only one that has ever given any information, and he still isn't given all the information. It's usually the national reporters, Elliot Friedman, David Pagnotta, different reporters out in the hockey sphere that will break an Oilers trade or signing. None of the Oilers media guys ever get that opportunity because I don't think the organization cares too much about leaking any information to Edmonton media, and I don't blame them. The Oilers media is going to try and gaslight all of you fans at home all summer. The longer that the Oilers don't acquire goalie, Edmonton media is going to try and convince all of you that that is A-okay and that the goaltending tandem is just fine. They're going to try and tell you to forget about the worst ever save percentage in Stanley Cup final history. They're going to try and tell you to forget about Stuart Skinner's massive struggles and inconsistency. And they're going to try and tell you to forget about Calvin Pickard being a career backup journeyman goaltender. And they're going to try and convince all of you that those two together are just A-okay moving forward in the Stanley Cup contending window for Edmonton. And the more that they do that, the less credibility that they get. So make sure we are holding them accountable. Make sure we hold the organization accountable. They have to go out and get a goaltender. There is absolutely no reason why this team cannot at least go out and get something, right? Literally anything is better than what they have now. Anything. Literally anything. Statistically, there cannot be a worse option than what the Oilers currently have. And this is not me saying that Stuart Skinner doesn't deserve to be on this team. I think Skinner would be a fine backup in a 1A, 1B situation, but that is it, right? Now, obviously, if there's any more breaking news, I will have some videos up talking about it. It doesn't sound like there's anything else going on the Oilers front. Victor Arvidsson sounds like his name's out there in trade talks, but as of right now, I did just want to discuss the Trent Frederic situation. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section below. Let me know your thoughts on the goaltending situation. Let me know your thoughts on the overall draft situation. Let me know who you think Edmonton should be going after. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have not done any pre-scouting. I don't really know this draft class well at all, so I'm probably not going to do a live stream tonight because I'm not going to really know what I'm talking about, right? I try and usually catch up on the prospects, the top like 60-ish prospects, and try and get a good look at all of them before the drafts, but this year I just haven't had the time, haven't been able to do it, so I do apologize for that. Of course, I appreciate all of your support as always. Look for a ton of content coming up here in the near future, including a new podcast on Saturday, where I will be, I do believe that I am going to be collabing with the One for One podcast. Great Oilers content creator. I will leave a link to their podcast in the description below. Make sure you go and check them out before our podcast together on Saturday. Look for more collabs this summer too, all right? Take care, Oil Country. Tell someone that you love them, and as always, fight like a kid. Fight like Ben. Let's go, Oilers. Let's see what Stan Bowman has up his sleeve for the rest of the offseason.